Paul, how is stress manifesting now?
Stress can manifest itself in all kinds of ways. The most obvious ones are poor sleeping patterns. That's often the first thing to go. People report suffering from insomnia, or perhaps they're eating differently, perhaps they're binging, perhaps they're drinking differently. And often these things they're not just the symptoms, they are in fact driven by underlying stress. And any sudden change of behaviour is often an indicator that there's some unmanaged stress going on, and that's where you need to attack it. And there are some very, very simple techniques that we teach people just to take the edge off, just to learn to cope with that extra stress level.
Go on. What are they?
Well, we do. First of all, breathing is an incredibly important technique. To learn to breathe properly and to control the breath. Tremendously beneficial just to lower the anxiety level, get the heartbeat back on track. And then when you teach them a little bit of self-hypnosis, just a gentle way of getting down, relaxing very deeply, relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, and then doing some active work. So while they're in a sort of very, very light trance, they can give themselves affirmations and tell themselves that, yes, things are okay and you can manage.
Paul, is this becoming much more acceptable in the corporate...
Oh, yes. I mean, it's almost essential more than acceptable, because employers are realising that they have obligations to their staff for their well-being. And that's not only their well-being physically, it is in fact their mental well-being, because so many days are lost through stress and illnesses caused through stress, that it makes good, sound economic sense to have a healthy workforce. It's no good.
So have you had workforces banding together and employing you? Or are you just working individually?
Yeah, we work individually. I mean, I get just ordinary people who are just reporting, coming along, just seeing me as individuals because they've got a stress load. And quite often, after a couple of sessions, they're reporting that they're feeling a little bit better, they can cope more with what's going on. They'll report that to their HR department, and then maybe we'll contact them or they'll contact us, and we may go in and do a group session. They may send people along as individuals, or we can go in and do a group, maybe 5 or 6 people, just teach them the technique and let them go away and do it themselves. Perhaps come back for a boost a little bit later. But it's tremendously effective, and it boosts efficiency.
I mean, you talk about breathing. I know that in all the Eastern philosophies, it's prana and it's chi, and there's all sorts of energetic things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we over here in Britain, do we take that serious?
No, we don't. Not seriously enough, but we're beginning to. Thank goodness, we're beginning to. Because the first breath that you take, the slight difference that you take when you breathe deeply and let the breath go into the diaphragm, expand the tummy, and just take the edge off that anxiety, it's tremendously effective. Just 3 deep breaths, and you can calm your heartbeat down by something like 20%. And that really is a great difference.
Can you see a whole pile of construction workers standing on a beam all doing deep breathing?
Done it.
Have you? I was taking the mickey. Go on.
No, I mean, it's something, look, just because people are in what's perceived as a manual job, they're under just as much stress as anybody, sort of with 5 phones going all at once and scouring the markets for deals. The stress is real wherever you are. You have a deadline, you have something to complete within a very urgent deadline, you've got a boss shouting at you, you're under stress. And you cannot function clearly, you can't think clearly, you can't do anything clearly if half your brain is taken up with anxiety and worry. It's obvious. If you can clear the space to work, then you're going to be better at what you're doing.
Do you think that stress has been used, though, as some kind of board to jump off from? Because if you're not stressed, people say, well, if you don't have a modicum of stress, then you're not creative or you can't do your job. You get kind of lily liver, don't you, and limp.
Well, there is that. I mean, as a performer that adrenaline is very important to keep up your level. That's very important. But there becomes a stage where it becomes counterproductive. If you've got too much adrenaline, your heart's going to be racing, your palms are going to be sweating, you can't concentrate, and your knees go to jelly, and you've gone past the point of maximum efficiency, and then the level goes down quite quickly. And you'll just be a nervous wreck, and of course that adrenaline is not going to do your body any good. It'll affect your sleep, your appetite, and your general well-being. And of course you can get prone to all kinds of illnesses and all kinds of disease when you're weakened through a hyperactive over-adrenaline production. It's very important.
So we really do have to start taking reports like this seriously. I do remember interviewing somebody many years ago who said that when we are most stressed, that's when we are least able to remember to use de-stressing techniques.
Yes, that's the point of the self-hypnosis. whole lot on my website, actually.
Yeah, go on, let's put your website
Which is hypnowellness.co.uk. Hypno as in hypnotising, and wellness as in well-being. Hypnowellness.co.uk. And there's actually a stress test there that people can download. And there's a booklet there which tells you all about stress and anxiety. And it's a good way in for people to understand some of the processes that they can employ. Very simple techniques just to take the edge off.
So, Paul, let me ask you something.
Yeah, sure.
Did you arrive at becoming a hypnotherapist and a stress manager because you yourself had become very stressed in the workplace?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Totally bang on.
Tell me what happened.
As well, I was many years ago, I was in the fashion business. And you can probably, if you know anybody who's been in that business, you can imagine what a high-pressure environment that is. And yes, I was mixing with people who were stressed out, and I was becoming stressed out myself. And I realized that you just cannot work efficiently. If 90% of your brain is taken up with panic, anxiety, and stress, you just cannot function properly. Mistakes are made, and more things go wrong, which adds to the stress level. And in the end, I sought help, and the help that I sought, the most effective help that I had, I did try one or two things, or several things, frankly. And the most effective help I had was hypnotherapy. I thought it was incredible. My eyes were open. I had no idea what hypnotherapy was, like a lot of people. And when I experienced it myself and realized that it is, in fact, relatively simple, very accessible, and quite quick.
Do you miss the fashion world?
No, I do not. No, absolutely not.
But now that you know how to hypnotise yourself into a state of calm, do you feel that you could actually exist in the fashion world?
I would have been much better off had I known these techniques then. But I'm much happier now enabling people to feel better about whatever it is they're doing. I think I found my niche.
No, well, I think you have. Talking to me, I feel really calm.
Well, I hope that it does exude and come over, because if you could have seen me 10 years ago, it would have been an entirely different person. This maniac, running around like a lunatic.
I understand. That's why I tripped up, actually. Paul, thank you so much. Hypnotherapist from Highgate. And if you want to meet Paul, it's hypnowellness.co.uk. You get to his website.